Hello and welcome to the Life and Fight of a podcast. This is a special UKFC fighter edition. I'm joined today by UKFC welterweight amateur champion Alex Bold. How's it going, Alex?
Not bad, mate. How are you?
Good there, getting there, keeping sane like we just said. So the lockdown is still on. We get updates tomorrow. So this is Wednesday, the 6th of May. So hopefully there'll be some positive news. But let's touch on yourself. So you are an amateur MMA fighter at present time, 6-0 record. You hold the UKFC welterweight championship and the FCC welterweight championship. How old are you now, Alex?
27.
27. So for your age, done quite a lot. Let's start right at the beginning then. So I know on numerous occasions, so I think it's probably every year, you've shared your story about being a bigger guy and then wanting to get fit. So start us all the way back then. What got you into sort of sport, martial arts, and what sort of projected you to where you are now?
Well, to be honest, mate, I hated sport as a kid. I was a little fat kid. Got bullied all the way through school until I hit about year 9. Then I started like perking up a bit, realised I could handle myself. And then left school and when I passed my driving test, basically, I used to meet at McDonald's 3 times a day and scrum mackies. Got proper fat. And then one day I just decided to sack it off. I was smoking 60 cigs a day and eating takeaways all day, every day. Just decided it was bad for me. I got into as soon as I turned 18, went out drinking every weekend, getting into fights. And my mate just turned around to me and said, get into kickboxing. So I was like, oh, I'll get into it when I'm a bit fitter. You know what I mean? Like, give me a chance to lose some weight. And then I'll get in. He was like, no, you're coming with me now. You're going to lose weight by doing kickboxing. And obviously, my intention was never to fight or anything. It was just to lose a bit of weight. Yeah. And then obviously, it's an addiction. So after you've been kicked in the face a few times, you realise you're not made of glass. It's mint. Like, that's what you're for.
I guess now looking back, if someone was to say to you, oh, I'll start it when I get a bit more fit, it's kind of like the laughing joke within this sort of industry.
I hear it every time.
It's just, no, this is what helps. And I even do it myself. I go, I'm going to get a bit more fit, then I might start to train a bit more in martial arts, again, and stuff like that, like MMA or jiu-jitsu. But then I go, no, I should be able to jump into it. But then it's finding the time and I find other excuses anyway. But
one of the things that I say to everyone as well is, like, people talking about getting fit, they're trying to look at the industry and think weightlifting, running, like, all that sort of stuff. Find something that gets you to move, that you enjoy doing. Don't matter if it's this, if it's playing a game of tennis or anything. Just find something that doesn't feel like exercise. So that's what I did. I could do this for 4 or 5 hours a day, but I couldn't run 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think a lot of the mindset is a lot of, especially what we see as well, the elite sports like football and weightlifting, like you said, and stuff like that. They're these elite guys that are ripped, shredded. The fighters as well, like UFC fighters, etc. And you don't really see the normal day-to-day fighters. Like if they went into Manchester Predators or any other gym, you would see a vast array of different type of size fighters, male, female, old, young, fat, thin.
Even non-fighters, you find every type of person you'll ever see on the mat. Like, from your little computer geeks, they're usually the best guys at jiu-jitsu, and then you get obviously your estate boys who they're the ones trying to throw hands, and then they get put in the place by some little kid on the other side of the mat who's never done it before. It's madness. It's a men's sport.
It's so where was it you first started the kickboxing? Where was it? What was the first gym?
It was literally just a normal gym, like a boxercise style class up in Scarborough. But he dragged me along to it, and we used to stay behind for an extra 40 minutes at the end and do a little bit like sparring, pad work and stuff like. So it wasn't their non-contact stuff. We stayed behind and made it contact at the end of it, and then from there we moved on to a place called Mark's MMA, which was just like a little dance studio that a guy had set up a class. But he was like a black belt, 3rd dan black belt in Wado karate or something. But he got us into wanting to fight. The guy who dragged me down originally was from the age of 16, a guy called Mikey Goddard. He got his black belt when he was like 16, or 2nd dan black belt, I can't remember, I think it was 1st dan. So he was all right, but he hadn't done it for 10, 15 years, so he wanted to get back into it. So we just kind of bounced off each other, you know what I mean? obviously his kickboxing style was a lot of spinning, like mad, flary stuff. So he taught me that before I learned how to throw proper low kicks.
So when you mentioned Scarborough, what are you usually from there, or do you live down there?
No, I lived there till I was about 16, and when I finished college, did a year in Bury College. Then I moved up there because my dad lost his business. Moved up there just to get away from everything. Decided I'd follow up a year after because I'd stopped talking to all my mates around there. Half of them had started doing drugs and just got down the wrong path, and I wasn't about it. I tried to get away from it, you know what I mean?
Sometimes a reset is what you need. There's a lot of famous people. Obviously, I don't know if you follow football, as a United player, previous United player called Ravel Morrison, who now, I think, Sheffield United or something like that. Now he was a bad, he living around Manchester, and obviously signed for Manchester United when he was younger. He had the same friends, like obviously like ones that you wanted to get away from, and then he just kept on going down a spiral, and then he ended up getting kicked out of United, and people said he could have been the best ever player at United.
I remember him talking about him in the youth academy, innit? They were saying that he was new prospect and stuff. You had to get rid of him because he was too naughty.
Yeah, I can't remember who came out of it. I've seen an article about a week ago saying that it was the same sort of era as like your Pogba and your PKs and stuff like that, where he was better than Pogba, etc. Yeah. But you did the right thing, and obviously your family did the right thing. Get away, restart, and it's just, I guess, would you have? Where do you feel like your path would have gone if you stayed?
I'm not sure, you know. I'd probably just be a builder and sat in the pub every week watching the football. Obviously, moving up there, football's not massive because they're all like Leeds fans and lower league teams, you know what I mean? So you're either dedicated to it or not at all.
Yeah, cool.
Round here, there's just a massive like United City or Liverpool United or massive rivalry. So every week you go to the pub to see how you can better each other as a team. And obviously, I'd just been dragged into that scene. That's what a lot of my mates do now. They're just builders or got some sort of trade, and then they sit in the pub on a weekend. They live for the weekend. I'm not about that. I like to do my thing Monday, like not even Monday to Friday. I work most of my hours on a weekend because I'm a chef. So I like to do that. And then the times that I get off, everyone else is in work. So I've got no choice but to just hit the gym and see my mates there, punch each other in the face.
Of course, and that's a good point. That so you've sort of built, and I think everyone has this anyway. You sort of have this thing going into the gym. It's like, I don't know anyone. I'm nervous. It's a bit of anxiety, whether it's low or high on the scale for each person. And then a month, 6 months, a year later, they're your closest friends that you probably have ever and will ever have.
You've got to be, because you sat on top of each other trying to kill each other. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Trying to strangle each other and trust each other not to kill you.
Do you agree with that though? Do you feel like you probably the closest friends for life through MMA?
Yeah, 100%. Like I've got the biggest network of friends as well. I've got friends all over the country now. So I've got guys up north. I've got like everyone you bump into in a session. So say you go and do a session in another gym, you bump into them. And then if you see them about, you've now got this big network of friends, so they'll introduce you to their friends, and then they might be from down south one day. You know what I mean? And then you've got a load of guys you can go train with down south if you wanted to train there. Or I've got people pretty much everywhere except for down south, where I can just ring them and say, "Can I come join your gym?"
That's a good place to be, and mentally as well. You know, you could stop everything and move somewhere else, and it continues really.
So obviously, there's a lot of people go to Thailand as well, isn't there? So I've got people, when I went to Thailand, there was people who could have dropped a message and went to train there. And then obviously lockdown hit whilst we were there, so I didn't even get a chance to experience it.
Yeah, let's quickly touch on that then. So you, what was it? Was it a multiple place holiday, or was you just going to Thailand?
Well, we were doing 5 days in PP Island for a wedding, for my cousin's wedding. We had it was meant to be 100 and odd family members or 80 family members or something going there from all over the world. We've not seen each other for probably 10 years plus. And then 4 days into it, shit hit the fan. So we're on PP Island. We were meant to go and spend time with our immediate family for a week after, and then go to Phuket for a day before we flew home. So I was planning on obviously trying to hit some gyms whilst I was there if I could. The day that we landed, all the massage parlours and all the gyms shut, so my missus couldn't get a massage. I couldn't go to any gyms. All the bars shut and the clubs shut. So there was only restaurants you could have a drink till say 10 at night, and then they shut the restaurants. It was mental.
So did the wedding still go ahead?
Wedding still went ahead. A lot of complications with it. Obviously, half the people, like the best men and stuff like that, Even her own brother had to fly home early because they were shutting the borders to Australia, Bali, and Africa, which is where a lot of our family are.
That's crazy.
So they had to fly back the day of or the day before the wedding. So everything was sweet. And then the guy who was running the wedding got COVID the day before. So they had to find a new guy to do all the vows and all that stuff, to do the service.
Literally anything that could have gone wrong went
Anything that
wrong.
could have got wrong went wrong. And then the morning after the wedding, we all went back to the other resort, and about 80% of people, so we ended up with probably 40, 50 people who actually made it and stayed. And 80% of them left the next day on flights that we paid fortunes for. And then we all went on a boat trip on the Sunday morning. So the wedding's on the Friday, Saturday after people go home. The people who were left on the Sunday, we were all meant to go to, what do you call it? I can't remember, another island anyway, for another week on the Monday. And we come back from a boat trip on Sunday, 12 o'clock, and they say you need to get a flight home now because they're shutting all the borders. So there was literally 4 of us left by Sunday afternoon.
Holy
By Monday morning, it was mental.
crap, that is mental. That. So what day did you end up getting home?
Well, we had 4 days in paradise, and then on the Monday when we were meant to leave to the other island, we just went straight to the mainland into the airport. Got to the airport, said there's nothing they can do for us. So we went and found an hotel, went back the next day, nothing they can do for us. So we were like, right, what do we do? We meant to go stay with some family, planned a way to stay there for 3 months if they locked us in, because Phuket was going into lockdown. No taxis, no nothing, so we couldn't get to and from the airport. Obviously, 2 kids. So we decided the best thing to do was buy just like last second flights to Bangkok. Met up with my brother who was on another island. He flew there for the same reason, even though his flight wasn't cancelled. It just seemed like everywhere was locking down. And you're not in a first world country, you're in a third world country, so you don't know how it's going to go as well, you know what I mean? Especially when there's kids involved. So we had to take a risk on that and just hope it was the best, because all the flights had moved from flying from Phuket or whatever via Bangkok to pick people up. And then everything was one call from Bangkok. But they cancelled both of our flights without telling us. We had to go to a desk and find out off a different company to check the flights, and they told us it was cancelled. On all our apps, they said they were confirmed. So we spent the night in Bangkok, went to the head office of Qatar and British Airways on the morning after. So this is Wednesday, I think. On that day, they wouldn't let us into the office, said they were all closed. So we just went to the airport to see if the offices there were open. They told us they were all closed, so we just nipped to a British Airways desk and they said, are you ready to fly now if you can? So I was like, yeah, I've got on my phone to the missus, said get a taxi down, we might be on a flight. And within an hour we were on a flight that had been delayed, otherwise we'd never have had that.
Wow.
We got lucky just getting out of the country. There's still hundreds stuck there, thousands stuck there.
That is crazy, that.
There was 40 people in a queue waiting to bid on the flights that we got on, because we had a baby with us, we got priority.
Wow. So how old are you kids?
I've got 9 months and 6 years old.
That's young. That it's not like you got 12, 13-year-olds that can sort of look after themselves a little bit.
So we had to drag them everywhere that we went.
Wow. A dream holiday turned into technically a nightmare.
It's my first holiday in 8 years as well, because of the kids.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've been able to get away. It meant to be a mint family holiday. Not seeing people for years. It just went to shit. But to be fair, the first 4 days were absolute paradise.
I bet it was. And then obviously,
enough,
it just that is crazy. I know, obviously, a similar story to you. Maybe obviously not as hectic because you were there in the middle of it all. But I had a friend, brother that was due to get married this past Saturday in Barcelona. Yeah. Everything was booked, everything was paid for, and they're struggling to get anything back for that. I was due to go to America last month for 3 weeks. That's gone.
So my sister was meant to come back from Australia for the first time in 4 or 5 years. That was in June. Meant to have, her kids were born, I think, 3 weeks after ours. She had twins, so they were going to have a big joint birthday party and everything. And it's been cancelled. Every plan this year has just went to shit because of this. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Hopefully, we get some positive news tomorrow. I don't think people will get the new normal for a while, but hopefully we'll get something.
I don't think there's gonna be a normal for a while, is there? I think gyms and restaurants, obviously. I work as a chef, and bars, they're not going to be open till the third to last tier, I think, or second to last tier,
Yeah.
around festivals and big events. And gyms, obviously, close contact. So
It's strange because the from what I've read this morning, last night, the Americans have started to force their gyms back open.
yeah, but that's Trump, isn't it?
We'll see how they follow. But let's get back onto you. Like you said, well, like I said, you 6-0 amateur MMA fighter now.
Yeah.
Double champion. You train at Predators in Manchester. Let's go back to your debut then. So it was on UKFC 6, which was, it seems crazy, just over 2 years ago. It feels like you've been around this game a lot longer.
6 fights in 2 years, isn't it? Not stopped.
That was against Phil Farmer, which was actually an original training partner for me many years ago at SBG. So talk about that fight. What made you want to make your debut? What made you take this fight, and how did it feel training up for it?
Well, I'd wanted to get back into fighting for ages, and the one thing, so I had a couple of fights back in the day, like I think it was 2012 or something, when I was just losing weight. I jumped in there after 3 months training like an idiot. Amateur beef, won the first one in 36 seconds. There's a video of me on the internet with it, fat jelly belly, thinking I was great, you know what I mean? And then I had my son, and I took 4 years out. I said that I wouldn't fight whilst I had my son, because obviously it's hard work having to put a roof over his head and all that stuff. So when I moved back to Manchester, I had a year or two in Manchester just training on my own in gyms, and it was winding me up. And I got to Predators, and I felt like I was finally somewhere that I could start fighting again. My son had just started school, so I weren't paying nursery anymore. I had a lot better financial situation, and I was in a good house, so I just decided, fuck it, let's go for it. Turned up at Predators. Gav said he'll get me an inter-club. Then after about 3 or 4 weeks, I've obviously realised that I wasn't just a new beginner, you know what I mean? I'd been at it probably 5 years then. So he was like, you don't need an inter-club, just jump straight in. So
that's pretty cool.
And I'm one of them people, me, where like, I'll doubt myself a lot. But if I say, I'll just say yeah. I won't think about anything, I'll just say yeah, do it. Because if I don't say yeah, I'll never do it, you know what I mean? So with that Phil Farmer fight, he goes, oh, I've got a guy here. It was meant to be someone from Blackbridge originally. And said, oh, I've got a guy for you. Do you want it? I said, yeah. Didn't even think about it. He said, do you want to have a look at him before you fight? I said, no. Obviously, I can't start questioning myself, because if I start looking at someone else before I fight him, then I'm doubting myself for one. And obviously, I'm starting to respect them too much, because I should be able to beat anyone, you know what I mean? If I'm good enough, I should be able to fight absolutely anyone and not die. That's the main goal, is just to not come out knocked out or dead, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my main thing whenever I fight. I just think, as long as I don't like get KO'd in front of my family, or don't damage my actual physical health, I'm fine.
So Phil Farmer, it was a first round rear naked choke, 1 minute 47 seconds. I remember the celebration. I remember how pumped you were just to get this one out of the way, back on the road where you wanted too many years before. What did it feel like for you getting this win?
To be fair, it was a bit of a weird one, because obviously you just train for 3 months or 4 months straight, whatever it is, and you don't drink and you knock everything on the head. You don't see your family as much, so I don't think I see my mum for about 2 months. So it was just nice to be able to get it out of the way and just go get a beer with the family and just enjoy them. The same after every fight, to be fair. When it comes to fight day, you're almost sick of all day, every day grind. And you just want to get it out of the way on the day. Like, your emotions change on the day. It's a weird one with fighting, because you start questioning yourself backstage, and it's probably the most terrifying thing. You've got to kill maybe 10, 11 hours sometimes. Obviously, that one was I think it was 5 at night. So the medical was at 2. I only had 3 hours to kill. But with some of the ones after that, it's been 9, 10 o'clock at night. So you've got half a day to just get out of the way, and you start questioning yourself, and you sat there when you're out. Everyone else is at the show enjoying the fights. You know, if you do that, you're wasting energy. Obviously, you're still trying to refuel after your cuts and stuff. So the main thing with that fight was the cut. Like, I had to learn how to cut. I've never cut weight before. Once you learn that, I'd spent weeks just researching. So I have it down to a bit of a fine art now, where I can play with it a bit and test things out. But
So,
that was my first time doing it, so I'd spent the next day worrying whether I'd refueled right. When you get into the fight, you win, obviously. That's everything's not even a blur. That was really clear, that fight, actually. But like I remember in one of the exchanges, he throws a low kick and a punch at the same time, but he poked me in the eye, and I remember someone behind me, and I think it was the cameraman, saying, "Ref, watch out for the eye pokes." And I asked my team afterwards if it was them that said it, and they said no. So like, just it's mad, the little things that when you're in there, you just remember things absolutely clear. And there's been a thing in every fight that I remember that's just like clear as day. You know what I mean?
something that sticks out. So you want to know now, that was March 2018. You're straight back on the bandwagon, UKFC 7, against possibly one of the toughest fighters still now. If you go on who they are, and if you would have had a rematch against any of them, looking back, Ruben's a real test and still is now, in Ruben Berison from MMA Academy Liverpool. For a second fight, and he was the similar record to you, give or take.
He was 2-1, I think, wasn't he?
So yeah, similar sort of style. He was long and rangy for you as well. You're quite tall and you've got good range. What was it like building up to this fight and then the fight itself?
Well, with that fight, I realised, I just analysed him quickly. I don't overanalyze any of my fighters. I just take a look. What I do is I watch him 3 or 4 times on the week that I accept the fight. Then I'll train on what I remember and try to remember in my head what they're like, and then I'll have another look 2 or 3 weeks out from the fight and just see, like, the most recent fights, what are the common traits. And I noticed with him that he was naughty with his knees, like the worst knees I've ever felt. And I've trained with some good guys in training who will throw some knees here and there, but I've never felt anything like that. The way that he sends them, like it was an elastic band, and it just pings up and was directly up to the ceiling instead of maybe trying to direct towards you, and it just went straight through me. So the first fight, obviously, the first round, he caught me with, I think it was 20 knees in the first round, and I'd been training with Robbie Kennedy because obviously he's big, he's athletic, he's a lot taller than Ruben, he's rangier, sparring with him just to get used to a body that's that much longer and rangier. And even still, once I'd gotten close, he just found a way to just pick me off again in the first round.
And if anyone doesn't know, Robbie Kennedy's our heavyweight champion. So getting knees off a heavyweight, when you're technically a welterweight, is not in training anyway.
Well, I was training with Robbie and Moggy, if you know Moggy.
Tony. Tony, yeah.
And obviously he's got like the reach of like a 6'3", 6'5" guy. I think he is 6'3". He's got about a 6'5" reach. He's massive.
I used to train boxing with him at SBG, probably 2009, 2010.
He's got some of the best hands I've ever come against.
He's ridiculous. So you're training with Moggy and Robert, ready for Ruben, and like you say, first round, ridiculous amount of knees. But
so what happened in that first round? I took a single leg. And Gav, obviously, it's my second fight. I'm not a wrestler. I've been into kickboxing. Like, Gav shouted, just lift the leg up as high as you can, like, meaning high crotch. So I've lifted it up at the knee, and it's kind of put me in an awkward position. And then from there, he's managed to spin it round, and obviously, I had him on his back, with his back against the cage, and he was just whipping knees out from there. It was mental. I think in that fight, if I knew what a high crotch was at that point, I'd have probably took him down and finished the fight quick, like I do in my more recent fights. You know what I mean? I didn't see his ground game as something that I couldn't deal with. I felt like he didn't have much of a ground game at that point. So I already had plans. So when he drops me in that first round, I'd already told my mate that who holds pads for me. I said, if he gets me down, I'm going straight to lockdown, straight to the electric chair, and I'm going to try to get the electric chair. If not, I'll try and pass it for the, what do you call it, I can't remember what it's called, the little leg lock.
Oh, banana split?
Vaporizer, isn't it? Vaporizer.
Oh, knee back, right. So,
it's got weird things. So I told him that I was going to do that, and then when I went to do it, he's got that long legs that he just managed to stay on top. He just managed to sit there.
I think, if I remember rightly, the second round where there was a lot of mad scrambles where you were both coming up on top of each other. The
second round, it was a bit of a striking. I took him down at the end of the first. I took him down twice in the second, once in the middle, once at the end. Stayed on top of him, got back up. obviously long legs again, just got him back to his feet. He kept holding my wrist with his long arm, so I couldn't strip him off. It's something that you find when you're against someone who's longer. If you just hold your wrist, you struggle to just strip the grips, man.
Of course. So the thing with Ruben, so you end that fight, end of round 3, get the unanimous decision by the judges, but you know you've learned a lot in that fight about yourself, about certain opponents. But it's a great learning curve considering you're only 2-0 at this point. You go into the third fight in a year, UKFC 8 against Lee Carnell, which, looking back in hindsight, wasn't as difficult.
That fight was supposed to be Ben Crawley, and he pulled out with 2 weeks in. I think it was some sort of infection or something, so we didn't want to obviously pass it on. But then
Lee Carnell stepped in.
The mad thing with Lee Carnell was he was turning up and he wasn't turning up, and then he wasn't turning up and he was turning up. So on the day of the fight at 6:30 at night, he's still not turned up. And I'm ready to just sack it off and go get a pint with my family. Just call it a day, you know what I mean?
The guy, looking back, it wasn't a fun experience definitely for you. It wasn't a fun experience for us because we would get messages from him saying, "Yeah, I'm an hour away," and then that hour would pass. Like where he's saying, "Oh, I'm only just setting off," and it's just like, "Well, make up your mind."
He told us that he'd be there in an hour, and then he put a post on Facebook saying, "Can anyone give me a lift from Hull?" So we didn't even have a lift at that point. When I messaged him.
It was the craziest thing because he seemed game all the way up to it, and which some people talk and just don't what. But in the end, he turned up, and then in hindsight, he wasn't an opponent. He wasn't even on Phil or Ruben anywhere near their levels, considering.
He was a step in on 2 weeks, so
of course, you did what you had to do. You stayed calm and composed, dispatched him early. Then you went and got your pint.
you got my pint.
So you're 3-0. That ends your first year, which has been a great year, really, especially with Phil and Ruben. You're 3-0, and you look in 2019, and all over that sort of end of that year, you're like, I want the belt.
So one of the promises on that fight as well, when I was speaking to Steve and Rob, was so Ruben's opponent pulled out as well.
Yeah.
And he phoned me on the weigh-in day and said, "Listen, I've got Ruben for you if you want the rematch. Like, it's a decent fight for you. Blah, blah, blah." I was like, "I've got nothing to gain from fighting him again." So then he offered me the title shot if I fought him. I beat him, obviously. So I was like, all right, then let's have it. Woke up the next morning and Ruben said that he didn't want it. He needs a bit longer to prepare because obviously I'm a southpaw. I'm a bit of a different style. So that's how the title shot came around from beating Lee, because he said afterwards, because obviously I was willing to take that fight. If I beat him, then I can still have the title shot.
Of course, I think with that fight is, I think, because you were mentally ready to do anything for the title shot, and I think you prove yourself against Ruben anyway, and mentally shows how tough you are against the on and off of Lee Carnell. So the next year comes 2019. The title's vacated. I can't remember who the champion was before you. Was it? Do you remember?
Jordan Holmes at one point, wasn't there? Before me, the champion was, because I was meant to fight Cy Ridgway.
That's
and he went pro.
Jordan vacated and Simon got it to turn pro because he got.
I think Andreas Binder got it first, and then Simon beat Binder, didn't he?
That's it. So the thing with Simon, he wanted to defend it, but then he couldn't. Auto contract or something like that.
Yeah, you can't say no to that, can you?
No, not at all. So you fight for the vacant title against Jamie Hayes, who's 4-1. He's been a champion elsewhere. What you finished that fight by TKO? But what was it for you and that opponent in Jamie? Did you look into him because this is your first title fight? You're right, I've got to take this a bit more. Nothing changed?
To be fair, when I heard that it was Simon, and I looked at how good he was, I seen what him and Andreas put on as a fight. I watched it firsthand because I can't remember someone's fighting. I fought that night and then they fought later on. And obviously, you got me in the ring after we won, didn't you, to announce the fight?
Yeah.
I watched it firsthand, and then from that day, I had a week off, and then I got back in the gym. 3 months up to Christmas, I had a week off at Christmas, and then from January the 1st all the way to the fight, which was another 3 months, I had 1 day off. Trained twice a day for the whole thing, and I was like, I'm not losing this. And then 2 weeks out, I went to the grappling contest. I think it was Submission Super Fights in Rottenstall. And when I got there, Rob told me that he pulled out. So then 2 weeks out again, he pulled out. Jamie had offered to step in. but I kind of took my mind had kind of took the pedal off the gas just for that 2 weeks, just because it was a different opponent, and I didn't think he was as good as Simon. Obviously, once I got in there, I realised how relentless he was, and since he's been absolutely mint. But I kind of took my foot off the pedal. So for the next 2 weeks, my mind's all over the place. So it was just like, let's just get this title and move on to the next thing. So obviously, I got the title, finished it how I finished it, which I was buzzing with. And I just kind of went on to the next thing. But my missus obviously was pregnant at this point, and then I knew I couldn't fight for the next 3 months, I think it was.
Yeah, so Jamie Hayes is probably like Ruben, one of the best fighters in the 6 fights that you've had. Yeah. Different sort of fighter, technical.
And he beat some good guys since as well, though.
Exactly, that's what we're going to. So
when he fought me, I was looking at him and analysing him in his video a couple of weeks before, obviously, and I was like, he's got 45 seconds to a minute bursts of this ruthlessness where he just doesn't stop swinging and chasing you down. And if I can cancel that out, bring it back to a level, then I can turn the tables, and it's my goal. You know what I mean? I can win 2/3 of every round. It's easy enough. I had 5 rounds all day. And then since he fought me, I've watched him with like Hassan, for example, and then that kid that he fought afterwards, and he just doesn't stop. His cardio's got well, but he just does not stop for like the full round.
Yeah, Hassan, then John Carr after that. So you beat Jamie, who's a great fighter, makes you 4-0, makes you UKFC welterweight champion, and then I think it was probably around a fortnight later, you was competing at Empire in Manchester, and we were talking about what's next for you, and you was like, I don't think June's going to work because was Baby due around then, or July?
Baby was due in June, yeah.
Yeah, June.
We were on about bringing her early because I think it was June, July, bringing her early. I had to say no to the European Championships as well.
In the EMAS. Yeah, I remember that.
So I couldn't exactly guarantee any fights or anything, so I thought it's so, with it being a month's worth of time that I didn't know about, I couldn't commit to anything.
Of course. And family comes first. So Baby was born, and then you was like, right, give yourself a bit of time, and then you was like, right, I'm going to get back on this. Let's go and start again, sort of thing. So the dates didn't quite match for us for you to defend your title. So you went to FCC and you fought for their belt against Muhammad Ali Shazli. Talk through that fight and a different arena, different opponent.
Obviously, a different arena. I took the fight. So the Baby was born on. I can't remember what week it was, and then the week after, Gav turns around to me and says, "I've got this for you if you want it." I'm like, "Yeah, take it." He was like, "No, look at him. He's a good opponent, top grappler, etc., etc."
8-4
like,
record.
"No, take it." I just did the usual, "No, take it." I knew I needed to get back into it, and if I didn't, I'd have 3 months out, and I would just like keep putting it off until I was ready. But there's never a time to be ready. You know, you've always got to be ready. So I said, "Just take it." 4 weeks notice, I took the fight. When Adam put the poster out, so I was told it was a normal fight. I asked if it was for the title, and he said no. Then when he put the poster out a week and a half, 2 weeks before the fight, it said 5-round title fight on the bottom of it. So I found out like that it was a title fight.
Oh,
right. All right. Yeah, so I thought, all right, I can do this all day anyway. Like, it's quite easy for me as a grappler. Like, let's just focus on not being out grappled. Let's focus on not getting grappled. Obviously, he's a southpaw, so he caught me with a couple of little shots that I wasn't expecting him to ever touch me with, because the range is totally different. Southpaw, you're really closer, aren't you? You know what I mean? He caught me with a couple of shots. I hit him with a couple of combinations, but I reckon on the ground we were fairly even. I caught him in a submission. He never really got me in much. He got me in the Americana in the first round, I think it was. And it was a split decision, but really close fight. I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't really happy with the fact that I got the decision until I watched it back and I realised that, yeah, that's why it swung in my way. But I was just a little bit more aggressive, even off my back, and he didn't do anything with anything that he had, any of the positions.
So you get the split decision. What's going through your head now? So you're now a double champion, which is a great feeling, especially in the amateur rank. So you've done 2 organisations.
I'll be honest with you though, mate. Like, once I won the title with UKFC, you realise it don't mean much. I thought it'll bring some sponsorships, etc., etc. It didn't really help with like getting me further towards a goal, apart from being a better seeing opponent by the other guys. Like, I'm now the target. So I thought it was going to pull out some sponsorship, and then nothing came from it. So 2 seconds, low power. So yeah, so I realised that it doesn't mean as much as I thought. So I thought, yeah, it's another strap. It's something to put on the wall and just inspire some of the younger kids in our gym.
Well, that's something that I was going to speak about when we got to after the next fight. But let's touch on it now. So you feel like the target's on your back, but considering when you walked into Predators to now, you are now one of the figureheads. You're one of the people that everyone looks up to. How's that sort of been mentally for you? Have you enjoyed sort of being in that sort of role, or is it harder?
Well, to be fair, mate, I'll be totally honest. I don't make it down to Predators as much as I should because of my job. So obviously there was a little period when I was always there. Now that the baby's here, it's a bit different. But I might get down 2-3 times a week and I'll see the faces. After, a quick match change in a gym. So half of the people there don't really know me at the moment.
Wow.
But like the younger kids say, like there's a kid called Flash and Callum. It was good to work close with them. They now look up to you, and you can just tell them, listen, I was well worse than any of you are now when I first started. Like, stick to it. Like, you can just kind of be a role model for them and just inspire them, show them what's possible. You know what I mean? Because I still look at it. It's only an amateur title. It's not really much. It don't mean much, but amateur level, it's great. But
I think, especially the amateur ranks, I think it's one to test yourself, two to get the experience, and I think three to lay the foundations. Because if you want to turn pro like you do, you've sort of got everything there to build onto a pro ranks. Because especially amateur A, the pro rules aren't that much different. There is elbows,
and to be fair, I think the amateur rules restrict me for what I'm good at. Because I find myself in my positions where like heel hooks are available, and like even with that Ruben fight, I found myself where a heel hook was right there, I couldn't use it, or twisters and just mad stuff like that, like mad grappling. Obviously, throwing elbows. I throw a lot of shots off my back, or whilst I'm grappling, if I could elbow instead of punch, I'd have a lot sharper shots, or I could cut people open. Whereas at the moment, I've got to keep things at range for stuff to work for me. Whereas when it turns pro, I can start using that closer range stuff.
Sweet. So you, at this point, 5-0, that's September 2019. Then I think it's around, probably about 3 weeks after this, we have a show in October. We discuss for you to defend the title against James McQueen. It's more or less accepted between yourselves that day.
I think so I did something in the fight against Lee Carnell. I think I missed his head and punched the canvas, and my hand wasn't right for months. And because obviously I didn't stop training for 6 months to the first title fight. Obviously, I had a baby, carried on training for it all. I never let it heal. So when you asked me to fight after that fight with Shaz Lee, I hit him with something, and I felt like my hand was broke. I got it checked out; it wasn't broke, but there was a lot of damage done to like the metacarpals and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was to the point where I couldn't pick stuff up. So for me to defend my title 3 weeks after that, I just had to say no, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's understandable, especially after a 5-rounder by split decision. But you basically on the October show, on that date, you say, yes, let's go, James McQueen, December for our show on 7th of December. We've had fights before where it's sort of Manchester versus Preston or Predators versus Reps, and they've been and gone. I feel like, especially you took this a bit more personal, especially after the victory. What sort of happened? Because it's something that you were very emotional during that. What's something that ticked you off?
To be fair, that thing at the end of the fight was just because when I was walking out, we had to walk straight past his family.
Yeah.
They were just giving me shit. They were just heckling me, you know what I mean? So I jumped up after beating him, and I just thought, right, I'm giving it back to you. I'm one of them, like, I'll keep quiet. I was going to give it to him on the way out, and I thought, no, because that just shows a sign of weakness and like, not concentrating. Cool. When I'm walking out, I'm focused on absolutely everything. But obviously, I just heard a few little comments and things when I was coming out, and obviously he tried to take the piss when I do my little arms out thing in the ring to try and intimidate him and scare him out, you know. So he was taking the piss. So I stepped round the side of the camera. As soon as I looked at him, if you see the video, he looks down. And I just at that point, I was like, right, I've got you mentally. Now I've just got to finish the job, you know what I mean? It's that whole Mike Tyson thing where with the eye contacts and looking into someone and just testing that mental side of things. Because even with the fight with Jamie, he messaged me after saying, just keep that up, because that ruined me like mentally. Just staring into someone's eyes, showing them that you're not scared, you're ready to go, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what you need to do. And
I think,
So obviously I jumped up and just gave it back to his fans because I just remembered everything they were saying on my way out.
of course, I think obviously this ended in round one towards the end of the first round armbar. And it's a good fight up until then, and I feel like obviously you want to finish fighting for your title, but I think that could have been probably one of the greatest fights on UKFC, one of the greatest fights that you've ever had, maybe most people have
Yeah,
seen, because both of you were game to do anything to get, well, one for you to retain and James to win the belt. You both had
yeah.
styles which sort of suited each other.
Counted each other, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like,
Tell you what, he's a good fucking wrestler, man. Like I hit him with, I think it was 3 or 4 shots in a combo, and he just got straight down on that double and took me down, man. I can't stop watching that because he cleaned me straight off my feet, dropped me on my back, and just. To be fair, as soon as I hit the floor, I couldn't scramble, and my knee popped out in the fight. So I've got this little pre-existing injury. I think it's like a torn cartilage, and every so often it'll pop out. So if you watch the fight closely, my leg's stuck at like 90 degrees until I can get it to the right angle to get it back in.
wow. So
yeah, so
like I said, at the beginning of the fight, it's quite even. Then he gets the takedown. He's a great wrestler. You knew sort of that was coming anyway. But sometimes it's just, you just can't stop that. But I think the experience in you by this point, especially facing like the grapplers of previous, like Ruben, who can strike and grapple, and like Mohammed as well. Yeah, so you knew sort of where to position yourself, and you're a great grappler actually yourself.
Yeah.
You position yourself, you got that armbar, and you could see in James's face, he's like, fuck, I've made a mistake here. I've just cost off the whole fight. And I think that's what wounded him the most, because he knew he was in a good position, but your experience sort of flourished over that. Obviously, we talked about the end of the fight and the emotion and towards his friends and family and stuff. But what did that mean to retain the belt? Obviously, the saying is that it's one thing to win it, but it's another thing to retain it. Like you say,
it was a lot scarier defending it than it was ever trying to win it, because you got nothing to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to be up against the guy who's got the tools, like I'm not a wrestler. I'm an all right jiu-jitsu guy. I'm an all right stand-up guy, and I'm working on the wrestling currently because that's what I need to do to get to them pro levels. But he's got the tool that I don't have. So I have to look at him like at any point. He's already a lot shorter than me. He's already in on my hips. Like there's not going to be much I can do if he wants to take me down, because you don't have to drop his level to get under my arms. He just has to time it. So I was just like, right, he can beat me at any point. This is the scariest fight I've got. Like, I don't want to lose against this guy, you know. It's got to the point now where 5-0, you're like, right, it does matter about the record. I don't want to lose that. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't do it amateur, but it gets to that point. I've not been defeated yet. I don't want this guy to be the guy to beat me.
Of course, I think if you look back at your record now, Ruben, Jamie, Shazley, and McQueen, all the best welterweights in the country, and then you most likely are number one. They're
beating good guys as well. Like.
Exactly. I think with
Shazley was looking to turn pro if he beat me.
Sorry.
Shazley was looking to turn pro if he beat me, and he'd been in a comp and an open a few weeks before, and he tapped out some black belts or something. So I had all this going through me, and I knew how good he was. Obviously, McQueen's good. Ruben, Sint has been good.
So the thing going forward is always that number one spot, but I feel like it depends on what rankings you look at and who's active and who's not. There's only 2 to 3 people above you on Tapology rankings, but that's, like I say, that's more of a...
2 of them are in the weight below.
Say again?
2 of them are the weight class below.
Right. Okay. Is that Hudson?
They had to do an IMAF at welterweight, so that's why they're classed as welterweights, but they fight the weight below. So one of them fought for the lightweight title against Ben Pictures Kelly the day that I won the welterweight title.
So with regards to FCC then, right, okay, you're talking about William Haycox. You're completely right then. I thought he was a welterweight, but I
think earlier in the career he's fought at welter before he started cutting weight or whatever, and then he's dropped for like 90%.
So is it? Even like Teddy Stringer, our lightweight champion, he's on this welterweight.
Yeah, he's on the.
I don't think he's only fought the IMAFs at welterweight. So yeah, you're right.
So it's the IMAFs that seem to mess it up. Like if they fight at the IMAFs at welterweight, that's what they get put in at, I think.
True. So technically, looking at this, then you're more or less number one on the Tapology rankings, which is a great. Well, there's always different ways to look at it. So you're number one. You've got 2 belts. We've talked about you vacating and going pro, and we're more or less ready to announce that. because we wanted to implement a new welterweight champion at some point, and you wanted to
Yeah.
turn pro, but we always wanted to time it right. And then the lockdown hits and COVID-19. What have you sort of been doing since March? Obviously, everything sort of went tits up. What have you been doing with lockdown?
Nothing, building a garden, enjoying it.
I've noticed that you're
Healing
doing a good job there, mate. The checking and stuff.
Yeah, well, I've been letting all my little injuries and little niggles heal. I'm making the most of it. Like, I'm probably the fattest I've been in 2 years, but I know how to do weight control. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm doing little bits of exercise, like circuit training, and I've got set my conservatory up as a gym. But I can't hit pads with anyone. I don't have a punch bag. Like, I have a
You're 9-month-old, not interested.
Sparring partner. My 6-year-old is, but he just wants to punch me. He won't let me hit him.
God damn it.
So yeah, so I'm just kind of making the most of it, letting things heal up. I've given myself carpal tunnel syndrome in the left hand now because of building the decking, but everything else is fine.
So you can't say you've been doing your gardening, keeping yourself busy that way. Technically, you're away for a little bit of it with all the melee of.
Well, to be fair, up until the day before Thailand, I was training as if I was getting ready for a fight. Because going to a wedding, you want to look the best you can look for all the wedding photos, you know what I mean? Plus,
with
I'm
all
in
your
Thailand,
friends
I'm
and
not going to have a
family,
t-shirt on in Thailand. So, yeah, I wanted to look good for that holiday and maybe hit some gyms. So I needed to be fit if I wanted to hit some gyms.
Of course, that's a great way to look at it as well.
So I'd already done like a fight camp this year without a fight.
So hopefully, like we say, we get some positive news that certain things will start to open in the next coming weeks and months. What is the aim is the aim to definitely turn pro next, or you think you'll get a reminder fight? What do you think you'll do?
It totally depends on how long this lockdown lasts, doesn't it? Because the lockdown lasts till December, and I've had a year out. Obviously, I fought 2 weeks before Christmas last time, won it December, so I'll have had a full year out, and I can't just jump into the pro rankings with a year out of the cage, so I might have to have a cheeky one just to get me back into it.
That's a good mindset to look at it. I feel
but
like
if it's in the next month or so, there's no reason why I shouldn't.
Of course, that's a good point. Is it? I know it's hard to say at pro rank because you go from a high, and I think most pro fighters when they start, they go sort of back down a little bit in level. That's not their level. It's just at pro level. Is there anyone on, maybe not for your debut, anyone out there? Is it welterweight you want to stay at?
Yeah, welterweight or I've got two options. I'm a little bit small for welterweight at pro, so I either put some size on, which I obviously prefer, but I'm not into. A lot of people take steroids and that in it, so I'm not that guy. That'll send me under. So I was looking at turning lightweight, but when I spoke to Gav, he said no, focus on putting weight on welter and just do that. I think I'm a decent size lightweight because I cut weight really easily. So.
And maybe something for the future then. Is there anyone?
And I've never had a six-pack at welter either, so.
Is there anyone at the welterweight or even lightweight ranks then that you've got your eye on?
No, I don't look at the opponents though. I just get given a name and say yes or no.
Fair enough.
So focus on everyone else. That's one thing I realised after the Ruben fight. I focused so much on Ruben that I forgot to focus on me.
Of course.
So after that, I've just said no. I look at who I'm fighting and then I just focus on me for 3 to 6 months. However long I've got to prepare for a fight, and then come back to it when I need to.
So you're 6-0 now. Technically, the next aim is to turn pro, depending on how long this lasts. What's been keeping you sane and active during this time, though? Also, I know you've got your partner and your kids, and you've
Vodka.
Say that again.
Vodka.
I don't know that far from you,
mate. I don't know, just building things, keeping active, don't stop. Obviously, last week I was waiting for materials to finish my garden, so I kind of went a bit down. I just got a bit, I can't be asked for this anymore. Now it's all finished. I can sit in the garden and enjoy my work.
So have you been doing anything else? Like, have you been watching anything or listening to anything, like even MMA or anything like to keep yourself sane?
I've got a pond. I've been learning how to build stuff and do stuff to save me money with that now. So I just put my mind onto something else that's learning. Anything that's learning, you know what I mean? Whether it's learning to build something, learning to make something work. Like anything educational, I'll learn. It doesn't have to be about fighting. I prefer, obviously, now is probably the perfect time not to learn about fighting because I don't have to focus on it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that little break when it runs your life so much.
Relaxes your mindset. So towards the end of it, you've probably seen on a few different the interviews. We do some quick fire questions. I know I can see your batteries running along. So I'll go through these and then we'll so you can get on charge. So number one, ketchup or brown sauce?
Brown sauce.
Mayonnaise or salad cream?
Mayonnaise.
A city break or a beach holiday?
Beach holiday.
If you do or did, Xbox or PlayStation?
PlayStation, no. I was an Xbox man for a good time.
So, when you eat, is your fork in your left hand or your right hand?
Left.
Good lad. Do you prefer a shower or a bath?
Bath.
God, I think you're the first person that's said that like that.
Yeah, I go probably an hour and a half at a time.
I just zone out, do your own thing.
Lock the door so the kids can't get
there. Do you prefer, I know the answer to this one anyway. Gi or no gi?
No gi, mate. I tried the gi. I don't sleep in pajamas, so I can't put them onto training.
Submission or KO victory?
KO.
Do you prefer a war or a quick finish?
Quick finish.
And then infamous one, Anderson Silva or George St. Pierre?
Anderson Silva, the guy that studied the whole time I was getting into it now.
Good. So before we let you go then, is anyone you'd like to thank? Obviously you talked about not having the sponsors when you get the title, but has anyone come on board since?
I've got Northern Craft House, who sponsored me from day one, obviously. I worked for the kitchen, but they just let me eat whatever I want to eat. It helps me to stick to my diet, man. I eat steak, chicken, rice all week, all day, every day. Nice. One for them, I had been knackered in that kitchen because I served burgers. Apart from that, mate, just the guys at Predators.
Amazing.
Gav Boardman, obviously, because he's top lad.
Yeah, he's a great guy, Gav. There's a lot. I think Gav's produced a lot of great fighters, but also gentlemen as well. I think they know how to deal with the sport.
On top of that as well, his wife works on the maternity ward that we had the baby, and she helped us when the baby went into ICU and stuff. So he's done a lot more than just helping us with the training. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
After us, so.
I feel like you guys as well. Obviously knowing you for a few years now, and along with the guy Predators for over 10 years. They know how to have a laugh. They've got banter. They don't take things too seriously. And anyone that's around the Manchester area, there's plenty of Manchester gyms. It's probably lucky enough to be in that position. I would definitely recommend anyone to get down there and get on Gav because his tutelage is second to none.
If you want one of the best mindsets for the game, come down and see Gav because he thinks definitely to anyone that I've ever had teach me before.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Alex. Keep sane, and then if you need anything, give us a shout.
Yeah, you too, pal. Nice to
one.
see you.
See you in a bit.